Are we just gonna wing it? Is that what we're doing here?
It's what we always do, Lou.
Wing it. All right. Well, let's start. So this is our first podcast.
Very first podcast.
I don't even know what we're calling it yet. We were just talking about this 8 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
We probably should have finalized that conversation before we started doing this.
Maybe.
So what I had landed on was the crossed rifles.
I like it.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that they didn't like crossed rifles talk. And I don't like that person. I don't remember who it was, though.
I remember somebody not liking crosstalk.
Cross talk, yes.
Yeah.
Or crossed talk.
Because crosstalk. Yeah, because that has some kind of religious
Yes.
leanings, which I don't think we have any problem with, but that's not what this show's about.
Guarantee we will talk religion at some point.
Oh, sure.
What are the things that you're not supposed to talk about? Religion, money, and politics?
We can talk about all those things right now.
We'll probably talk about all of those in the next 9.5 minutes. But yeah, no, I think the crossed rifles is kind of what this podcast is going to be called. For those of you that are going to start listening to this, you might even be watching us on video. Hi. We're going to post this weekly.
Cool.
Okay. That was a question, not a statement.
Well, it's just a matter of if I can nail you down once a week to do a podcast.
Well, I got here at 9 o'clock this morning, and you got here about 9:30.
Yeah.
And we had intended on recording this. It's 4 o'clock.
Yes.
It's time to go home
It is.
for you.
Uh-huh.
I'll be here for a while. So yeah, you're in your overtime statement right now. But yeah, I think what we plan on doing is maybe releasing one of these a week.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'd like to do 2 a week eventually.
For sure.
When we get our battle rhythm down with everything.
We have the goals of having some guests on. We have, I think the majority of the time it's going to be you and I talking, or Adam and I.
Sure.
You travel in the wintertime a little bit, so there's going to be some times there where you're not available. We'll do as many remotes as we can, but I think the goal here is that half of the episodes will be us talking about all the things that we think are important. Most people probably won't, but at least we'll get to hear the sound of our own voice.
Right.
My mom will listen to this podcast. We'll have at least one listener. And then I think the other half will probably have some guests. Now, we've got really some cool guests. We've got cool employees.
Oh,
Crossed
absolutely.
Rifles. So we've got a lot of history in the building, and I think we can go out and about and grab some people. And we're going to talk about guns, right? In case anybody that's listening to this has stumbled upon it, this is a firearms podcast that we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things other than firearms.
Right.
So yeah, welcome to the Crossed Rifles, and this introductory podcast. That's what we're going to call this one. Is our introduction. You're going to get to know myself. My name's Luke Allen. I own Crossed Rifles in Bryan, Ohio, which is a retail gun shop, soon to be retail gun shop and range. And this is Dave Winters. And Dave, you have been here how long?
A year and a half. Yeah, probably a year and a half.
A year and a half?
I think so.
God, it feels like so much longer.
I know
don't know
it
if
does.
that's a compliment or not.
Well, I kind of hit the ground running when I got here, so.
Do you remember how we met?
The first time?
Yeah.
I needed a thing lasered.
Was it then?
Maybe.
I do remember a thing needing to be lasered. Here's what I remember. We'll tell each other's remember stories.
Okay.
I remember.
That's so sweet.
We're going to talk about how Crossed Rifle started at some point, probably during this introductory podcast, but we do a lot of classes. We teach a lot of concealed carry classes. And This would have been that first year of COVID, the lockdowns. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the world couldn't find toilet paper, and they thought, oh shit, this could get bad. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should get a gun. And we were booking out 35, 40 people a class. Every time we'd have a new class. Every 3 weeks we'd have a class. And I would have to go to Walmart at last minute and buy folding chairs. Because 7 extra people would show up that didn't tell us they were going to show up. Well, we provide lunches in our class. And you owned a restaurant here in town at the time.
I sure did. I own Myro's Pizza.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I without going into a lot of details, you and I have talked about, and I had refused to go into Myro's Pizza for a while.
Right.
Did not know that you were the owner.
Uh-huh.
And I had refused because of previous reasons. Years ago. I was holding a grudge, which is not normally my style. And somebody had told me, oh, you need to go try that place out. The guy that owns the place is a veteran. And I said, no, I've met the guy that owns the place. No, he's not. And they're like, oh, you must not have met the new guy. they looked at me funny, right? And I immediately blurted that out. And so I found out that you owned My Roast Pizza. I started ordering pizza from you.
Right.
In fact, I don't think you ever let me pay.
I didn't.
You didn't.
I didn't, because I like what you were doing.
In my opinion, I thought that's how we met. Now, we might have done a thing.
We did.
Okay.
We did a couple things. I did, my son and I built a cutting board for Brock. What is Brock's last name? He's a pastor in town. Brock. And, we built a cutting board, and we wanted to laser a Bible verse on the back of it. So I started asking around. They said that you did laser work. So I brought that in, and I brought a flag thing in, and
interesting. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
but I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
Yeah, it was a job in passing, totally. And as a matter of fact, I think Chad did most of it.
Yeah,
Chad was back there, and we did
the
lining it up and all that kind of stuff. And so we didn't have a whole lot of interaction, but I always liked what you were doing and kind of what you were about. And it's good to have 35, 40 people that may have never heard of your restaurant or eaten there in a captive place eating your pizza with your name on boxes, and it made sense for marketing for me.
Yeah.
So I fed your classes.
We
closed.
we called you a sponsor. I don't know if you even never knew that. I don't know if you ever took the class after that. But yeah, as soon as you started doing that, we started handing out some sheets that I think you provided us, and you said, My Roast sponsors us, and I let go of that grudge because it was for other reasons than your food, which was phenomenal. My wife used to eat at your place all the time, right?
She did.
And so we started sponsoring. I think it was a month or two later. So COVID, that was during COVID, and the government said that we couldn't be open, and they said that you couldn't be open, and the problem is that you actually had to listen. I didn't,
right?
But I took I laser engraved a cup for you.
You did.
I laser engraved, and a bunch of, I was trying to earn your business at the time, a bunch of or one or two gift cards.
Yeah.
And I took them down, and I don't think I got to you.
You didn't.
I handed them to somebody, and I left. And I got a message from you like 13 minutes later. Hey, man, this is awesome. By the way, we're closing the doors next week. Don't bring me any more cups because it's going to be a waste of cups and money,
Sure.
But yeah, so that's, and I don't even remember when I remember you coming in and saying, hey, are you like, I want something to do.
No, the whole me starting here story, I owe it to my wife. So we were camping. We camp all winter.
Yeah.
We were down in Florida. We were camping, and she saw an ad on Facebook that you had posted looking for part-time help. And she's like, hey, you should do this.
I did.
So I was like, okay. So I called up, and I was like, hey, Luke, this is Dave Winters. I'm interested in that part-time job. And you're like, it's yours. I was like, well, I'm in Florida, and I can't start right away, and I don't care. I was like, well, I'm going to be back like January 14th. Like, come and see me when you get here.
That sounds exactly like something I would do.
I only want to work part-time. I don't care. Like, okay. Well, because you hire people. You hire personality.
I don't hire for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't hire for the job. We'll talk if we get a chance to introduce all the employees here at Cross Rifles.
Sure.
We'll see that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I hire the people that I want to be around. I surround myself with the people I want to surround myself.
100%.
And you were one of those people. And we've been talking about doing this podcast for a year.
A year. Yeah. A solid year. It was it was considerably before. It's probably a year and 2 or 3 months maybe. Because this is before I had left for Florida the second time.
Yeah.
We have B-roll shot in the Serco booth from back then. We have conversations, you and me doing this with just a little GoPro. Yeah, I mean, we got stuff. We were trying to kick it off back then.
So that's something we should talk about on this podcast, is the whole idea of what we're doing here is we think that we've got some information in our heads that other people should have.
Sure.
We think that we've got some opinions on firearms and maybe the firearm world, especially as a newbie, but even some expertise opinions that we can give. Mm-hmm. But we want to do a podcast and a YouTube series.
Right.
I don't think we're 100% sure what those exactly are going to look like, because we are videoing our podcast, and we might even release our YouTube series on audio.
Sure.
Right. But
mm-hmm.
The goal here is anybody that's watching this is not going to be our YouTube series. Our YouTube series is exactly what you were just talking about. We've got hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Hundreds of hours of video of us spraying in the Cerakote booth.
Right.
Both of us. Mostly you lately. Everybody here knows that I don't get into the Cerakote booth as much. I don't get to go down the sales floor as much as I used to. But I'll still be in that Cerakote booth. And we're the goal here is to maybe teach some people how to Cerakote.
Yeah, I think there's a void there. There's Branson Cerakote.
Yeah.
Has a YouTube channel we learned some stuff from. And then you continued your education at Roman Arms and all that.
Got Cerakote certified.
Yeah, and I've just taken that and kind of ran with it. We kind of do some different techniques than other people do, and
you've come up. Very often I walk through the shop and I ask you, "Are you Daving something?" And
yeah, it's
you
a verb
are.
now.
It's a verb now. Your name is now a verb used around the shop. I think we're pushing the limits of Cerakote that some of these other Cerakoters are not. Or I guarantee they are.
Yeah.
They're just not showing others on YouTube. They're not marketing to a point where we're seeing them.
Right.
And that's okay for them. They're probably just as busy as we are.
Yeah.
But I think I want to pass that information along.
I certainly do. And we have a whole video series. It's going to be 10 or 11 videos.
Yep.
Starting off from how you talk to a customer, how you receive a job, how you guide them pick a theme or colors or, that initial contact with the customer, all the way through crazy shit and steel wool and lasers through grips and all that kind of stuff.
LED lit, backlit
all
things.
Of it. Yes. Yeah, all of it, to when you hand the gun back and how you get your name out on social media and where to post your stuff and we're gonna go front to back. So if somebody wants to grow their Cerakote business, because there's room for all of us out there. There's room for every single Cerakote applicator there is.
Dave, you can put a Cerakote shop next door.
Yeah.
I will rent my space to another Cerakote shop.
Absolutely.
And I think that we will be just busier and busier and busier.
As a matter of fact, I called you. It's been a few weeks ago. Because I thought about, I'm going to be in Florida in the same area for quite a while. I'm going to hit up a couple shops and see if they want me. I'm going to pimp myself out, see if they want me to come spray Cerakote, help them get caught up, whatever. Show them how to do some stuff. And
make them some money.
Yeah, and you were just like, heck yeah, go do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. There's enough business to go around. And I think that if we're talking about from a why do we want to do this point of view, I think it's just cool too.
It is.
So we wake up the kids. My wife and I wake up the kids together every morning. We wake the kids up at 7 a.m. They make their way down and they get their morning snack. And I'll usually, I'm not always a full cup of coffee in by then yet. So I'll usually have my computer out. I'll be just messing around. I'll be looking at emails for the morning or checking whatever account we got shipping to us. I was watching YouTube this morning because that's a thing that I do sometimes. And I was watching on how modern air conditioners run. I already kind of understand the compression process and how an air conditioning runs, but I just ended up watching a very informative, very well animated video about how modern air conditioners run.
Sure.
And my wife, God bless her, smartest book smart person I know. She has no idea how an air conditioner runs and doesn't give two flying shits.
She doesn't care.
Okay. I, on the other hand, I have a pretty good concept of how an air conditioner works, and I'm just interested in seeing more. So I think our Cerakote is the same thing. You don't have I'm asking you here, but I'm making a statement at the same time. I don't think that you have to want to start a Cerakote business to maybe be really interested in how we Cerakote.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't. And I think part of it is going to be, okay, I watch a machinist on YouTube. His name is ABomb79. He has over 1 million subscribers, and he makes things on lathes. Something that I think less than 10% of his subscribers, way less, are actual machinists.
Do you own a lathe?
I don't.
Right.
And his videos are 45, 50 minutes long. Sometimes they're 3 parts to make 3-part video, 3 hours to make a little thing like this. But it's interesting to me. I think it's cool, and I watch it. And I'm a nerd. So I do the same thing. I watch all kinds of videos on all kinds of
That camera's
things.
yelling at us. Did you hear that camera yell at you?
Let it yell.
I'm the boss here. You stop that. I learned something new. My dad was here today. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons that we were late today, right? I've been arm deep in an old truck that I own, changing the gas tank. Mm-hmm. And that's my dad. So my dad, he's the kind of guy that can take a refrigerator apart. The only tools he's got is a toothpick and an old like paper clip, and he'll fix it. Right. No schematics, no nothing. I told him the other day about our idea about doing a podcast, and he doesn't know what a podcast is. Hi, Dad. Mom will probably make him listen to this, but he knows what YouTube is. I said, we're going to do a YouTube channel. And I looked at him. I had made an assumption, and we all know what assuming does. I made an assumption about my dad. I said, Dad, you probably don't watch YouTube, but he goes, yeah, I do. Before I could finish, I go, okay. He goes, yeah, I watch a guy restore old cars.
Sure.
It goes right back to what we were talking about today. My dad's an old car guy. I had to remind him the other day. He counted his cars. He was telling my wife, we've got, I don't know what he said, 5 or 6 vehicles. And I said, you're one off. You got a whole nother vehicle you forgot about, right? But he's that guy, and he watches a guy restore cars. Now, he's never planning on buying a 1951 Chevy truck, but he has seen one restored.
It's interesting.
And he's going to watch the next one.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just, and I like that stuff. I think it's going to be a cool thing to watch the Cerakote process and the sandblasting and exactly how we degrease. And like you said, we have all those business ideas too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How do you get the customer, and then how do you set the customer's expectations?
Mm-hmm.
So those are things that we're going to talk about. On top of the podcast, we'll have the YouTube. I don't know what our format's going to be for this podcast. I like I said, kind of you and I doing this.
It's going to be whatever it is, I think. I think it's going to depend also on who's standing here with us.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
We've got some really cool ideas for guests.
Yeah.
What I want to do after we have this first podcast, I want to go out on our guest board, and I want to write down some guests, and I want to put some lofty things on there, and I want to see how long it takes for us to be big enough that we can invite
Elon Musk is here.
Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is on, because I've heard that Brad Pitt is not anti-gun, right?
Yeah.
Most of Hollywood is.
Yeah.
I've heard. Now I don't know that he's pro-gun,
right?
But I've heard that he's not anti-gun. So
Okay.
let's get Brad Pitt on the podcast.
Sure.
We don't. I wish I could make up a name, like we had a girl sitting behind us that does all of our bookings for us,
right?
But we don't. It's just us,
right?
So yeah, find Brad Pitt's number for me.
Will do.
Have his people call my people. No, but I think there's no format here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the gun shop. We're going to talk about stupid things that people did in our gun shop.
Mm-hmm.
That happens every day.
I'm sure we'll talk about current events, politics, religion, how you slept last night. I got new shoes that are awesome.
I do have new shoes, by the way. I went to Eddie Bauer and got some new hiking shoes. They're awesome.
So that's what I mean. I mean, it's just going to be like, this is the interesting conversations we have every day at work. So why not?
So why not record them?
Yeah.
How many times we've done that? You said we've got so many hours of B-roll. We've wrapped this GoPro. We've been in the middle of a conversation and said, why are we not recording this?
Right.
Not because it's necessarily people need to hear it, but because we're putting out some nuggets of information that other business owners could use.
Sure.
Gun shop or not.
Yeah. Right.
I come to you, we talk about your business ownership. That's not the only business you've had. You've done a lot of things in life. And so I come to you for a lot of advice on, hey, does this make sense or does it not? Did you not mute your phone? Your phone's being used to run that camera, isn't it?
No. That's the shop phone.
That's the shop phone.
The shop cell phone is running a camera.
So far on podcast number 1, we forgot to tell all the employees that when the door is closed, absolutely do not knock and never approach.
Right.
So we've had one of the employees think they needed a thing, knocking on the door. The GoPro's yelling at us. And now the actual business phone that we should be answering right now is ringing.
Right.
Lessons learned, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're really good at screwing stuff up and doing it better next time.
I think it might be more interesting if we bring another phone in next time and see which one rings first.
Right.
Let's put them all on the table. Whoever's rings first loses $10.
Ring phone challenge.
Right. So speaking of your business owner background, tell me why I should care about your gun knowledge. How did you end up standing where you're standing right now?
Okay, so Myro's Pizza. We were talking about me owning Myro's Pizza. So A friend of mine opened Myro's Pizza back in, geez, I don't even remember what year it was. Few years, so probably 2003, 2004. I helped him open the restaurant. I had previous restaurant experience. My dad was a chef, went to culinary school, yada yada. Then I got into construction and did a whole bunch of different things. But yeah, so he needed help with this restaurant, so I ran his restaurant for a little while, and then I joined the military. So at 35 years old, I went to basic training. I think that probably says a lot about me right there. But yeah, 35 years old, I went to basic training. Then I was a field artillery guy. Went to Iraq, came back, went to a bunch of schools, went to dog school. Got to be a dog handler because I had a bunch of dog experience. Got to be a dog handler. Went to Afghanistan with the dog, found a bunch of bombs the easy way. Came back, got out.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because finding the bombs the hard way is not.
That's the way you find them in Iraq. You find them in Afghanistan the easy way with the dog. You find them in Iraq with your truck the hard way.
Right.
So
we've had some guys here that have found them that way.
a few
as
of
well.
us. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. So then went contracting for a while. Was a secret squirrel dude. Then they changed our security clearance requirements, and 38 of us lost our jobs overnight. And most of us just went back in the Army.
Yeah.
So I went back in
You
the
just
Army.
go back and do what you know.
Went to Korea, trained a bunch of Joes, came back, and then I was an instructor at Fort Sill, field artillery instructor.
Yep.
So I've been a dog teacher, a firearms teacher, a howitzer teacher. I've instructed people to do a lot of things, and I've been in a few firefights and have some experience on the real world side of guns.
Yep.
And yeah, and then when I got out of the Army, I bought the restaurant.
Came back to what you knew.
Yeah, and we grew the restaurant like 32% in 3 years, and then COVID hit, and it was primarily a buffet and salad bar place.
Yeah.
We started losing about $17,000 a month. And I wasn't willing to do that for very long.
Well, I mean, how dare you?
Right.
That's only $167,000 a year.
Yeah, so
Come on now.
We pulled the plug and we did a PPP loan, and a bunch of our servers were only part-time, so they weren't getting unemployment.
Right.
But yeah, so
They were not getting paid at all.
not at all.
That's the big thing that COVID hit.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that now. You want to talk about politics, right?
Yeah,
We're seeing
right.
the inflation from that now.
Yeah.
But you took care of them.
Yeah, we got a PPP loan. We figured out what our servers would have made, including tips. Took care of them up to that point, and the rest of our crew. We did open back up for about a month, just trying to see if we could coax it along. We built sneeze guards for buffets and had servers out there serving people and everything, and it just didn't work.
That's when I brought you the cup.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's
You had
when
opened back up.
Yeah, that's when
Yep.
you brought me the cup. And so yeah, that's kind of my real world knowledge. I think it's helpful for a business owner to have another business owner around, because you look at things different when it's your bank account and when it's your reputation and when it's your business. Your viewpoint changes on things, and mine changed even from when I was a general manager. You know, because I thought of Myro's as my restaurant when I was a general manager there. They were my recipes, my systems, my all that stuff.
I think we have the same thing here, by the way.
Sure.
Adam Siebenauer, who's our general manager at Cross Rifles. He's a fishing guide in Alaska. He's a licensed fishing guide. So he goes up there twice a year and he guides. And that's where he's at now. We were going to start this last week. He left yesterday. So today's his first day in Alaska. So we're going to be hearing from him. But yeah, Adam thinks of the shop as his. He runs this place like his own place, but he spends the money like it's my money.
Yeah. His perspective is different in that way.
It is. Yep.
It is.
Yep. My employees love to spend my money. And you're right. That's where you need another business owner mind. I have both. You have both cost me money because, hey, no, you should probably do this thing that I didn't really want to pay for.
Sure.
And you've saved me just as much, if not more, by saying, no, we don't need to do that.
Right.
This podcast is a good example. I gave you a budget to get all the equipment and do the things. We ended up spending a little bit more because we thought we wanted. And you also ended up saving us a lot of money on other things. Like we don't need that.
Right.
We have that. We can use this for that purpose. We can get by with this for now. And you know, we were looking to have a somewhat professional. I'm sure people listening right now are telling that we're not in an echoey room standing 27 feet from the microphone, right?
Right.
So we're trying to do the right thing here. But yeah, having a business owner on board, which goes back to, hey, I'm interested in that job. Great, it's yours.
Yeah.
I knew your military history at that point. I knew your firearms knowledge. You had bought a firearm or two from me by then.
I sure had.
So I did have a chance to meet you a couple times in person, and I just knew that you would be a good fit. I'll talk a little bit about my background.
Yeah, please do.
And how we ended up here. I'm going to give the whole story, and it'll be because we're going to try to talk about a lot of these things during the podcast as well. Some of the things that we know. It's not just going to be about Cerakote, but we're going to talk about how to run a business. I think people might be interested in what happens in the behind the scenes of a big gun shop.
Sure.
We sold 4,500 guns last year. We're on path to do just a hair over that this year, which is weird because this is a slower year. And so there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know about. But I did the smart thing and joined the Army when I was 17, not 35. So my knees and shoulders still worked. Now they don't anymore because I'll be 40 here in about a month and a half, and they're shot now. But I joined the Army when I was 17. I actually joined the reserves. My best friend and I, from the time we could talk, told our parents we were going to be Marines. We were going to join the Marine Corps because they have the coolest looking uniforms, right?
They do.
And so we said we were going to be Marines, and the Army recruiter came to our school, our junior year of high school, and we learned that you could do a thing called split up, where you could join the Army when you're 17. You can go to basic training after your junior year.
Right.
You'd be in the Army. You come back, you do your senior year of school. Now, I went to a little tiny school, Eden, Ohio. I think we had 48 people in my graduating class. So I wasn't really... Everybody already knew me. I guess I wasn't trying to be cooler, but I thought it would be cool if I was in the Army.
Right.
And let me tell you, I was not wrong. Okay. A lot of other people of the other sex thought it was cool. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for at that age. So I joined the Army, but we both joined the Army Reserves. We did split up. We did basic training. We graduated high school and did our AIT. And both of us decided that we wanted to be infantrymen, which leads to the name Crossed Rifles. Crossed Rifles is the insignia of an infantryman in the United States Army. We came back. We both decided that we also wanted to be police officers. I don't even think you know this part.
I didn't know that.
We went to Northwest State Community College for one semester because that's all either of us could handle. And we went for criminal justice. I had a job at the time. We both tried to go active duty during that semester because we realized the civilian college life was not for us.
Right.
And you know me, and at the 17, I needed, at 18 now, I needed a little bit more structure.
Yeah.
We had both elected to have an 8 a.m. class, and I think we made it twice the entire semester. We drove together, and we would get there by 8 a.m., and then we would sleep in his car until 11 because we were just too tired. We were partying the night before. Yeah, for real. So anyways, we both tried to go active duty in the Army, and at the time, this would have been early 2001. They were not interested.
No.
There was no interest in having somebody, and I guess it would have been late summer. It would have been like early fall of 2001. And they didn't need us. We watched the towers fall at Northwest State Community College, both him and I. They wheeled a TV out. If you remember when they used to have a wheel, big tube TVs around. Yeah. We watched the TVs or the towers fall on those TVs. We called our reserve unit from the payphone in the lobby. We're dating ourselves now, right? Some of these people listening to this podcast weren't even born yet, Dave. We called collect from the payphone, probably 1-800-COLLECT, right? And called our reserve unit and said, hey, what's going on? What do we need to do? They said, nothing, stay tight, go home, stay by your phones. Because we didn't know. We knew at that point we were being attacked. We just didn't know a whole lot at that point. Within months, both of us were active duty.
Yeah. Because they needed anybody
people.
then.
They remembered we wanted to be active duty.
Yeah.
So within months, both of us were active duty. And we did our general career progression. And long story short, in 2004, I got selected to go to the United States Army Drill Sergeant School. I went and became a drill sergeant, became an instructor in 2002. I'm going to mess up some of the timeline here because it's so long ago. But in 2002, went to the Total Army Instructor Training Course. I don't remember what that acronym is, but spell that out for yourself. Learned how to be an instructor, got certified. I'm going to use that word because it's in the military. Did the drill sergeant thing, became an instructor later on, did some shooting with the Army Marksmanship Unit, never got selected to be on the AMU. Well, I take that back. I got selected to be on the AMU, but I couldn't. My drill sergeant unit, it was while I was at Fort Benning, wouldn't release me. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing shooting with them, they'll tap you on the shoulder and they'll have a little meeting afterwards. Say, hey, we're interested in you trying out for the Army Marksmanship Unit, and you have to be released from your actual unit for, I think it's a 90-day tryout period, and my unit wouldn't release me. So I just continued some long range shooting. Really kind of went down the path of being a firearms instructor in the military. Got out in 2012. So I did a total of 12 years between active and reserve. Had a couple marriages in there, and all the other standard Army stuff that probably doesn't apply much to the podcast. But well, I'm sure we will talk about it at some point.
All of it.
No, I found myself 3 or 4 years later, about 2015. I'm trying to think when. Yeah, I started Cross Rifles in December 2015. 2015, I was a bigwig for ADT Security in Cleveland. I was running Cleveland, Detroit, and Pittsburgh region. So I had this big. And if you're selling security systems, 3 of the cities you absolutely want to have are Cleveland, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Let me tell you, okay? So I was wearing this 3-piece suit. I was running these teams of 25 people in each city, and making a lot of money, and absolutely hated life. Yeah. The corporate world. My daughter was just born. She was born in August of 2015. And so in October, I told my wife, I said, I think I want to teach people how to shoot again. I did it for years in the Army, and I was that guy that my civilian friends would always approach me and say, hey, can you teach me? Can you take me to the range? Mm-hmm. Right? Because they knew I shot competition, and I was an NCOIC at a couple different ranges. And so I started Cross Rifles. I told my wife at the time, I said, there's a guy here in town, in Cleveland, I don't even got to travel, that's certifying NRA instructors, which in the state of Ohio, you got to have that to teach CCW, at least at the time. And he's certifying. It's $285. Now, I'm not going to say this to brag, but both my wife and I were making well over 6 figures. Both of our cars were paid off. I think we lived in like a little shithole house. It cost $500 a month. What I'm saying here is we weren't doing bad. Right. And I don't think I've even told this part. My wife, right? I come up to her and said, $285 to take this class. My wife goes, $285? Holy shit, that's a lot of money. And I looked at her like, I'm sorry, excuse me, what?
You have 3 purses that cost more than
that. Yeah. So we're making, $250,000 a year between it. We hating life doing it, not spending any of it. And she said $285. So that's what I did, because I don't listen to my wife. Yeah. I spent $285. I took $3,000 out of a little account that I had, and I started a business. And that was Cross Rifles in December 15th. If I'm remembering that date correctly. Somebody's going to go on and search and prove me wrong. I think December 15th, so I could get tax benefits that year. Cross Rifles became an LLC, and we were just going to teach CCW classes on the weekend every once in a while. I was just trying to pay for my gun habit. Sure. I like to go to the gun shows and buy guns. Back then, you could trade and buy sell guns on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So about once or twice a week, I was yelling at the wife, like, I'm running to Walmart real quick to buy a gun. Call the cops if I'm not back in 15 minutes, right? And I was buying and selling guns out of my trunk because I was swapping guns here and there. And that's what led me to get an FFL. So the law says that if you're going to profit off of firearm ownership or firearm sales, you have a federal firearms license. So Facebook kind of kicked that to the curb, and for a while there we weren't able to buy and sell anymore, so that kind of ended. And at a certain point I was teaching all these classes, and we got more popular and the next thing I know, I'm teaching a class every weekend all over the state of Ohio. I was traveling to Columbus and Toledo and going to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm renting out these hotel you don't even know this part either. I don't talk about some of these the hard drive that we had at the beginning. I was renting out hotel conference rooms, the little rooms, and I was putting ads on Craigslist and the local Facebook groups, not because there wasn't any gun groups left, but it was like jobs wanted Facebook groups. And I would go in there and post, hey, CCW class coming up this weekend. And I would book people for it. Some of those people are still our customers to this day. Just had one come in last Saturday. And we were just grinding. And I found myself teaching every weekend. Every class that we had, I'd have this little old lady, same lady in every county. And little old lady, 73 years old, husband maybe passed away, and she's starting to think, I got to protect myself. And she's never shot a gun, or the last time she shot a gun, she was in her 20s, right? It's the same story. and she shows up with an Airweight 357 Smith & Wesson, right? Because she went down to the local gun shop, and some crotchety old guy goes, "Oh, here's what you need, little lady," and sells her the wrong damn gun, right?
Gonna rip her hand off.
Because old ladies are dumb and they can't work guns. I don't know what the thought there.
Yeah.
It's because most people don't want to teach how to actually work a semi-automatic, or they're worried. So I got my FFL. That's the long story short. Too, I'm like, I can't. They're always asking me. We'd shoot during the class because there's a shooting portion of that class, and these ladies would take one shot, and then they'd be shooting my gun after that.
Yeah.
Like I'd be loaning them my firearm to qualify because, good God, they didn't want to shoot these 357s,
hand cannons.
So they'd always ask me, well, where can I go get a gun? Well, I'm telling them, you can go to Real King, you can go to Bass Pro, like all these big corporations. I'm like, well, you dumbass, it's not that hard to get an FFL.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong. That's the wrong information right there. But
well, that's relative. That hard.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Now, to make it do anything, that's a whole other story. By the way, me walking over to the carryout and buying these Twisted Teas before we started this was probably the best decision I've ever made.
Brilliant. They're so refreshing.
Is that going to be our first sponsor? Can we get Twisted Tea? Who makes these? Let's call them up after this. Hey, we have one podcast. Would you like to sponsor our podcast? They don't even say. They're ashamed to put the oh, is it Nestle? No. Anyways. So I went and got my FFL so I could sell little old ladies' guns. I think that's kind of where I need to end that story. No, I'm not going to end the story there. Got my FFL. A kitchen table FFL. Yeah. My first FFL was at my parents' house.
Right.
My wife and I were still renting a place, and I did not want it to be tied to a rental.
Mm-hmm.
So I rented 5 square feet from my dad. I got a lease agreement and all. I leased 5 square feet from my dad for $1 a year. And I used that 5 square feet to sell firearms. Got my FFL. We ended up buying a house, moved that FFL up to our garage. I bought, remember those old gun display cases, the old shop?
Glass ones?
Yeah, the glass ones.
Yeah.
I bought those from a trading card company that was going out of business in Toledo.
Oh, like
Pokemon.
Yeah, I got you.
Like not cool trading
those
cards.
Those are Pokemon cases.
Those are Pokemon cases,
awesome.
Dude. So I bought those. I didn't have a trailer at the time. So I put on Facebook I needed help to go get this thing. And I didn't realize how heavy those things were. So me and one other guy loaded them into the back of my truck, ratchet strapped them down, and I put 2 of them in my garage, and we started a gun shop. My wife thought I was crazy. And we did that for 3 or 4 months. I said, hey, honey, all of these crazy people in this area that like to buy guns, I'm going to invite them to our house after hours when it's dark. Because I got a real job, so I got to work during the day.
Sure.
But at 5 p.m., I'm going to take my work hat off, and I'm going to put my Cross Rifles hat on. I'm going to invite all these people into our house to sell guns. And we did. About 3 or 4 months after that, I told her, I think I want to quit my job. Quit my high-paying job. I was in the firearms industry by then, and I want to do this for real. And I don't know, Dave, I will tell you, my wife and I, we don't fight, we don't argue, but I don't know that we've ever argued harder than during those 3 months for real.
Well, yeah, because you were at
I was with Desert Tech. So I was a regional head at Desert Tech at the time.
Yeah.
So I was traveling a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And I had a full-time gig, and I was making good money.
Yeah.
And I told her I wanted to quit and rent a place in Bryan, Ohio. And that I told her, I said, if someday, maybe within 2 or 3 years, if we do okay and we watch our pennies at the shop, I might be able to pay myself a paycheck. And so,
well, things went a little better than that.
They did okay. We sold 4,500 guns last year.
Yeah.
We do some of the best Cerakote that I've seen in the country. Mm-hmm. And we are now, I started that in Parma. That's the Cleveland area we lived in. I started Cross Rifles out of my living room, 180 square feet. We're standing in an 18,000 square foot building, and we're about to build an 8-lane indoor range, right? So yeah, I think we've done okay.
Done all right.
By the way, I'm going to have my wife on as a guest.
Oh, that's a must.
We need to have both of our wives on at the same time just to annoy them together. But my wife she'll probably shit her pants at the idea of talking in public, but she'll do it.
Yeah.
She'll tell you my favorite phrase in the world is "I told you so," And I like to remind her that she thought that $285 was a
was
waste of money.
It was ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous amount of waste of money to start a business. But yeah, so here we are. And that's kind of another thing we want to talk about here in the podcast is just that growth and all the things that we've done to get where we are. There's a 7-year gap in there, by the way, that I just summed up in about 8 minutes.
Sure. And there's a lot of things we learned along the way, do's and don'ts. And I just feel like it's the right thing to do to share that with people, our experience.
Do's and don'ts in business.
Yeah.
Do's and don'ts in the gun industry. Do's and don'ts in Cerakote.
In the Cerakote booth.
Gunsmith. We have a gunsmith here on staff.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Laser beams.
Yeah. Yeah, we do laser engraving. We've had several lasers now.
Yeah.
We've had a mill and a lathe. All of the things that I would recommend people do, and let's tell them about all the ways we screwed it up along the way.
Yeah, and
they still might have to screw it up themselves, but at least they'll know it's coming.
Sure. Or the pieces of gear that we got that ended up just being trash, or why we ended up doing what we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I want to do one more thing because I want to kind of make this at least a little bit gun related.
Sure.
One more thing before we let the people go is so let's give them a taste of kind of some of the things we're going to actually talk about during our regular podcast.
Okay.
I'm just gonna. So we've got a lot of firearms sitting behind us. Actually, that's a great idea. One of them's yours, so that kind of gave me an idea here.
2 of them are mine.
Two of them are yours. Several of them are mine. Yeah. So the one that I'm looking at, which again, podcast. I understand most people aren't looking. You've got your personal actual defense. I'm gonna call it a rifle, even though it's got a brace. It's a pistol.
Yeah, that's my shit hit the fan gun right there.
Let's talk about that. So let's talk about loadout.
Okay.
You can talk about like what it is, and when I say loadout, I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different things.
So my everyday carry is a Glock 19. I carried XDs for a long time, and I carried some subcompact stuff. And I got into Glocks because I was Cerakoting and lasering the crap out of all kinds of stuff, and I wanted to do some insane builds. And I didn't want to do that with one of your guns or a customer's gun, so I bought myself a Glock 19.
Yep.
And lasered and Cerakoted the ever-living shit out of it.
It's the craziest gun I've ever seen.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole YouTube video or series on that gun alone.
For sure. And the design behind that and all the computer work and all that stuff. But that was my learning curve. That was my 80 hours of learning how to use Inkscape and laser, EasyCAD and all that. And I wanted to do it on something that was mine. So that's my everyday carry, is my Deadpool Glock. My shit hit the fan gun is a Maxim PDX in 5.56. It has a 5.5-inch barrel. It has a Griffin GP5 direct thread suppressor on it, a Vortex 3X Micro, and a Vortex. Which one is
Spark
that?
AR.
Spark AR. And it's been 5 different colors.
It's about to be another one.
It's back to black. Yeah. It's back to black again. It doesn't have any. Well, I mean, it comes with a bunch of fancy parts, anyways. The radio and charging handle. The very best pistol brace in the industry, I believe. The reason I went with this as my shit at the fan gun is it is absolutely indestructible. The thing is built like a tank. It'll eat anything. It's super, super compact. It's perfect for in a truck, in a closet, in a wherever, in a backpack. It's only 18 3/4 inches long without the suppressor on it when it's fully collapsed.
Yeah, size matters.
Yeah, you can take it anywhere. And I don't need to be able to shoot 500 yards in a self-defense situation, because at 500 yards, that is not self-defense.
Most of the time, it's not.
Across the street is self-defense. I mean, if you shoot somebody at 200 yards, in general, there's a lawyer attached to every bullet anyways, and it's going to be a real easy argument for that guy to say, why didn't you just move? So
interesting. We're gonna wing it here.
Yeah.
We used to say the same thing about pistols. Anything after 20 yards is right.
Yeah.
We just had a situation in, what was it, Greenwood, Indiana?
Yeah, we did.
42-yard shot, self-defense. But that was a active shooter situation.
It was.
A little bit different.
Absolutely different.
So I think I would tend to agree with a rifle, and that's the reason I want to pick this up.
Yeah.
With a rifle, what is that self-defense distance? It's probably going to be dependent on situation.
And PID. I mean, you're gonna have to have. Okay, in the active shooter situation, he wasn't actually defending himself.
Right.
He was defending a third
Defending
party,
others. Right.
which is 100%. I mean, he was legit.
Absolutely.
You know, but
I'd give the guy a pat on the ass. Good
I
job.
would too.
Yep.
I would too. But that's a super slippery slope at 200 yards, even at 10 yards. You don't know what the situation is.
Not even. How do you know that shooter isn't defending against
Himself.
an active shooter?
Yeah.
Or I don't know about you. I would say 95% of the people that walk in this shop, so they're gun people. I'm not saying 95% of people on the street. 95% of the people that walk in this shop don't have the skills to engage somebody at 200 yards. No. Especially with a 5.5-inch barrel AR, but let alone a 16-inch barrel AR.
Sure.
They don't have the skills to do that safely, so you might be putting more people in danger than you would be helping.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's an interesting to talk about because we always, and especially in this industry, we like to put numbers on things, right?
Yeah.
It's like 7 yards, the defense distance, and you had if anything practicing after that, it's pointing. Well, I don't know about that.
You know who doesn't put numbers on stuff? People that have been in gunfights.
Absolutely.
They very rarely put numbers on anything because as soon as the first bullet flies, everything goes to shit.
It's all
it's all just reflexes and training and yada yada. Numbers, I suppose they're important. They're important for training, and they're important to gather data and have a good idea.
You've got to break down the data somehow.
You do, but it really comes down to reps. It comes down to reps, dry fire, practice under pressure. You know, that's what it comes down to. It doesn't, like, I hear caliber arguments all the time, like 45 versus 9mm versus this versus that. You know what? If you're a really good shot, it doesn't really matter.
My wife carries a 380.
Yeah, mine too.
And why I'm not going to say this the sexist way, but it's going to come off sexist. And I let her.
Yeah.
Now, what I mean by that is my wife looks at me as the expert in firearms in our household, right? She's not a huge gun person.
Sure.
Your wife's probably very similarly.
Yep, absolutely.
But she asked me what my opinion on a 380 is. And she's got 6 rounds of 380, by the way, and does not carry a spare magazine. Oh, no. And I feel like that, I trust that will do the job to protect my children when they're with her and not me.
Absolutely.
And because of statistics speaking and numbers, the chances of her having to use a second magazine are pretty slim to none. The only time she would typically need another magazine is if the first one actually failed.
Right.
And I think 380 is going to do enough to at least stop the threat in enough time for her to get away. 5.56. I was going to ask, why 5.56?
Because if the world goes to shit, it's going to be everywhere.
Same.
It's going to be everywhere. Yes, 300 Blackouts is a better round for self-defense. 100%, especially suppressed. It's ridiculously quiet. There's a bunch of reasons to use like 300 Blackout or
7.62 by 39.
Yeah, absolutely. They're both punchier rounds, but 5.56 is everywhere.
So that gets into the shit hit the fan scenario, the zombie apocalypse that we like to talk about. We don't think the dead are actually going to come to life, but we think that maybe at some point somebody's going to be trying to take my things and eat my stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't want them to eat my stuff.
No.
So I'm looking for the AR is popular because the AR is popular, which makes the AR more popular. The AR-15 is not the preferred. Like if you had your choice to build out a rifle and that was going to be the popular thing and you could find parts for it everywhere and it'd be, easy to maintain forever, you wouldn't design the AR-15. It's ergonomic, and Clinton decided to tell us we couldn't have it. Those are the two things it's got going for us, right? So Clinton said you can't have it, and when Bush decided to say, well, you can have it again, everybody went, I want 7, because I haven't been able to have any.
Yeah, they're everywhere. The ammo's everywhere. It was NATO's round for a long time. There's going to be tons of surplus because there's switching to 6.8. There's a lot. There's a lot of ammo around, and I'm not worried about what do they call that? Terminal effects.
Right.
With a 5.56 at 50 yards out of a 5.5-inch barrel.
No.
Because I'll put 15 of them in you.
Yep.
If that's what it takes.
Yep.
I'm not concerned with that. So
yeah, more wound channels is just as good as one large wound channel.
Yep. And I have an optic on there, a magnifier on there because my eyes are getting old, and PID matters to me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna really know what's behind whatever I'm shooting at. I really want to be able to identify stuff. I stole my flashlight off it the other day, but normally I have a light on it, just white light, no lasers, nothing fancy like that. My Glock is stock other than the Insano laser and Cerakote job. I don't typically do triggers or any fancy stuff like that. I do always carry a spare magazine.
You're a spare mag guy. Yep.
Because, and it's not because I'm going to use 15 rounds. It's because what if that magazine fails, or what if I'm getting out of the vehicle and the magazine gets caught on the door jamb or something and rips out of the gun, and I have one round. Because I always carry one in the chamber.
Probably happened.
I've
gotten out of the vehicle and seen it happen.
I watched it happen.
Yep.
So yeah, so I carry a spare magazine with me all the time. Even usually when I'm in like shorts, you know, I just throw one in because I'm not a cool guy, so I have like cargo shorts and stuff. So I usually either have a spare mag carrier or throw one in my pocket.
Have you ever heard of Neomag? It doesn't look like you have it
by
your face. Neomag. We should talk. Well, I you know what? We might be able to contact them and actually get him on this podcast.
Oh, that'd be
at some
super
point.
cool.
But really cool product. Look it up. I'll just leave it at that.
Well,
People can look it up. They don't sponsor us, and I'm not going to say anything else until they pay us money. But which means we can't talk about anything for the next couple hundred podcast episodes.
What do you carry?
I'm a Glock 19 guy. I have so I open carry. I'm gonna have to specify this. I work in a gun shop, and we're the biggest gun shop in the tri-county and tri-state area here where we're at. So I'm the gun guy, right? We got 9,800 people in Bryan, Ohio, and everybody knows I own the gun shop. So even though there's some places where you wouldn't want to normally be seen open carrying, I open carry a lot because I can get away with it.
I do as well.
Yep. Most of the guys here in the shop do while we're working specifically. And so I'm a Glock 19 guy. I conceal carry my Glock 19 in fall, winter, and spring. Unless I'm going to be inside, I'm going to be taking my jacket off. I'm a SIG 365 guy.
Sure.
So I was actually carrying, it's on my desk right now. I'm carrying my SIG 365 today. I had it concealed. I had my shirt untucked, and I was just kind of out and about a little bit today. So it depends on the day, but I'm a shit hit the fan. I've got several Glock 19s. That's the difference between you and I. I think I have 7 Glock 19s, 2 Glock 19Xs, and like 4 Glock 17s. You have a Glock 19. And that's definitely something you and I are going to be able to touch base on. I think I own 15 to 20 ARs at this point. You have 1. All you need is 1. Like, you have all of the loadout you need. So it's hard for me to really say, because I do kind of make that switch a little bit.
Sure, and I understand that. There's times my wife has a 365 and she's got a shield and a couple smaller guns. And once in a while, if I'm going someplace where I really want to conceal, I'll borrow one of her small pistols. And
it's the bloated days.
Appendix carry it or whatever.
If I'm feeling fat.
I'm always fat.
Yeah.
So,
but if I'm feeling fat,
yeah.
Some days I look in the mirror and think I'm really sexy. All right. Other days I'm like, Jesus, you
can I borrow your mirror?
Right. So if I'm feeling extra fat and I feel like I need to really deep conceal something, that's
I got
365.
And so I do have a few options, but that would be an interesting conversation for us to have about why I only own 5 guns.
And good Lord, it's probably more weird that I own over 150.
No.
You don't think so?
There are a lot of people walk in this door every day that own 100.
Oh, there's a lot of people that own more than me.
Ton of them.
And not counting the gun shop.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got 400 or 500 guns here in stock. I own all those too.
I know,
right? But no, I've always thought I've actually thought to myself, get rid of them all. You need a rifle, a pistol, and a shotgun for each of us. That's it. But
into 22.
I love going down and digging through my safe sometimes.
I know. And honestly, I think firearms are a good investment.
Yeah.
They're only going to go up in value. I don't think it's a mistake to own a whole bunch of guns.
Nope.
Unless you own a whole bunch of guns and you can only afford a hamburger helper without the hamburger in it.
Yeah.
We
see that in here.
Yeah. That's a problem, and I think that's a problem with any hobby. I mean, don't have hobbies if you can't eat.
Yep.
You know what I mean. But yeah, I don't see any problem with that because they're only going to be worth more, 10 years from now than they are now.
I'll tell you how I kind of went down that path. Is I think that I have to outfit my entire family in the shit hit the fan scenario, and I do I do need a tinfoil hat enough to think that it's likely to happen during my lifetime.
Sure.
That at some point, and I don't think it'll be a permanent situation in my lifetime, but that at some point we're going to run into the Venezuela situation where food is unobtainable and somebody might try to take my shit. And my family's mostly not gun people. Now, I have convinced most of them, at least the households, to get an AR. But they're showing up with one AR, one magazine, and no ammo. And that's where and they're coming to my house, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I'm the guy I'm the prepper.
I'm coming to your house too.
Yeah. I'm the guy that says I'm not a prepper, but a lot of people would absolutely laugh their ass off at me if they saw how much food, ammo, and guns I have, right? Yeah. That's one of the situations I got into. And then also, guns are cool. Mm-hmm. Like, that's it.
Guns are super cool.
Yeah. So anyways, Glock 19, SIG 365. My ARs, right now, my Maxim PDX. So we own the same PDX. Mine's fit a little bit different. So I've got the Vortex Halo on mine. Not the Halo, the UH1. Huey. Yep, that's what I meant to say. We just did that Halo gun, Cerakote. So it was in my brain. So I've got the Huey on mine, and I've got a Sandman S, a Dead Air Sandman S suppressor on mine, and I use that for quick attach because I've got another AR that's got an 18-inch barrel. That lives next to my balcony door in my bedroom for woodchucks, and I swap that air around. But I have a TLR 1 HL, so I've got the 1,000 lumen, which is a little much for the house, but we live in about 7 acres of wooded property that gets very dark at night. And I think you've got an HL on
and
yours.
a very big, yes.
Yeah. You do the 1,000 lumen for the same purpose. Yeah, big house, big property, very dark. So I've got that. I run a Magpul sling that'll go from 2-point to single point, so I can transition.
We use the same sling too.
I think we're running pretty much the same thing. Yep. I've got a truck gun. Believe it or not, my truck gun does not have a suppressor. I don't know why. Because with the licensure that I hold as the shop here, I can travel across state lines with silencers. But there's still always that weird across state line with silencer thing.
Yeah.
So it's got a pin and welded muzzle device, and I keep a set of muffs on top of it, unfolded, ready to go, because I've done enough damage already.
I was gonna say before you let loose in the truck with that in a dangerous situation, you should try it first.
Well, and that's
horrendous.
That's in the back seat. Like I need to slam the truck into park, or fight my way home because I travel a bit. Right, I found myself in Tennessee recently.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So I think I have a 7 mag loadout. I'm always rocking a pistol in the truck. So that's I'm gonna fight you off of my truck or get to that gun, and then the gun's gonna get me home. But so that's my loadout. I've got woodchuck guns laying around the house. You weren't here when I took a 45-70 home yesterday because I got a woodchuck in the front yard. Yeah, no shit, man. Well, we were talking about it. So I have shot a woodchuck. I got one last year with my 38 Special, my Smith.
Yeah.
At the time I was leaving it in the glove box of my truck.
He ran into the culvert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So he was in the ditch, and I shot him, and he went into the culvert and died inside there.
So this one's not running.
No, he ain't getting away, man. Yeah, I don't know what a 45-70 does to a woodchuck, but I'll send you pictures when I find out. Yeah. So, but so far this year I've shot one with a 300 blackout, a 5.56, and a 22. And we were talking out front. I've got this collection of Henrys that stays here at the shop, right? And I'm like, I've got a 45-70, and I got a box of ammo here, and I got a woodchuck. Well, let's put this thing together. And
45-70 plus ammo plus woodchuck equals fun.
It was on the dining room table when Steph got home yesterday. She goes, "What is that?" It's a gun. She goes, "No shit." Why? I've not seen that one before. And you know my thing, right? Have enough guns that your wife doesn't recognize when you get a new one. But this is a Henry all-weather 45-70. It's obvious. Yeah. And I said, "Oh, I've had that forever." My wife is also, she watches our videos and listens to when I talk. She's like, "Bullshit." That's what you tell people to say, right? That's what you tell your customers to say. I'm like, no, for real. I traded a guy for that about a year ago. It's been at the shop. I told her I was going to shoot a woodchuck with it, and she didn't think twice. She doesn't know what 45-70 is. And I showed her one of the rounds. She says, "I don't even know why I married you. You're a dumbass." But she's curious too.
Oh, your wife's awesome. Yeah. Have you done it yet?
No, I just took it home last night. Right. I was stalking it I was out watching for at least 4 or 5 times last night because it was a little rainy and they like to come out when it's a little rainy, right? Yeah, no, I haven't seen it yet. And I went out and looked this morning, got my feet all wet, saw all the dew on the ground. Now I'm looking for it. Yeah, I know where he's at. Anyways, we said we were going to do this pod. We said we're going to talk for 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you have a timer?
Sure.
We are every bit of 50. I mean, I think we blew past that, didn't we?
We're at 59 minutes since I started the camera, so
Yeah.
right about 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were not able to stay on schedule. This is
That is
blowing my mind. No, I think what we said is
nobody that knows either one of us.
I think what we said is let's talk for 20 minutes, which means we're gonna have an hour-long podcast.
Yeah. That's about right.
I think that's a good place to probably end it on.
All right.
And let's try to drop one of these once a week. We'll talk
We're gonna
about
do that like, share, and subscribe thing that they always
absolutely.
do.
You know what we should do? We should smash that like button. Listen. We're not going to be very good.
Bell.
We're not going to be very good at
Ring
that.
that bell.
I'll do some giveaways. If somebody's listened to this point,
Yeah.
people that are going to listen to this are the ones that are probably already listening to my Saturday morning lives that we do on Facebook, and we're going to get some additional subscribers. For those of you that don't know and have stuck around for the last hour through the ridiculousness that we've already talked about, I give away stuff every week. I'm going to transition some of those giveaways here to the podcast and the YouTube series. So stick around, subscribe to our podcast, listen to it, and we'll do a giveaway here and there. We'll do some Cerakote jobs.
Awesome.
We'll do some firearms.
Sure.
Just cool stuff.
Cool stuff.
I can walk around this 18,000 square foot building and find a lot of cool shit. Yeah, Dave's got a hat in his hand.
Vortex hat right here.
Hanging on the wall, right? So yeah, lots of cool stuff we can get.
Next
away.
week we're giving away a Vortex hat and a used PT belt.
And a used PT belt, but you've got to wear the PT belt all day here in the shop. Not you, the guy that wins.
Yeah.
You got to hang out all day, wear the PT shell.
You don't have to convince me to wear the PT belt.
No, yeah, absolutely. I'll wear it. PT belt, only the PT belt. I'm fine with that. I'll have a PT belt only day, and we'll probably get arrested, but whatever. Okay, is there anything you want to add before we tell these people to GTFO?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this was a good time.
We don't have any cool outro
Not
things
yet.
yet. I
Not
don't have a
yet.
saying like yippee-ki-yay. I can't say. I said no. I didn't want to cuss to cuss.
It can't be it.
That's what I said at the beginning.
I don't know. We'll work on that.
Okay. Work on it, Dave. See ya.
Peace out.